It was just another quiet summer morning at Miller's Auto and Performance in rural Arizona. Jason Miller, 44, a seasoned mechanic with sun-worn hands and a heart full of silent grit, opened the dusty garage doors like he had every morning for the past 2 decades. His son, 16-year-old Tyler, followed closely behind, a rag sticking out of his pocket and smudges of grease already on his shirt. He'd spent the night fixing a friend's broken TV, as he often did. The shop was humble weathered tool cabinets, old posters, and a cracked vending machine in the corner, but to Jason and Tyler, it was home. Tyler was different from most teenagers. He didn't party, didn't chase trends, and didn't mind working with his dad in the stifling heat. But more than that, Tyler had a mind built for machines. He could hear an engine misfire and tell you the exact piston misbehaving. He could touch a rusted-out carburetor and imagine how it would function if rebuilt. Jason had never boasted about his son's skills, but deep down, he knew Tyler had something special. Still, life had taught him to be cautious, especially when dreams outran experience. That morning, a deep rumble approached the shop. A large trailer pulled in, and on it sat the carcass of what used to be a magnificent hypercar, its sleek curves mangled, the carbon fiber body scorched and torn. The driver, a silent man in dark sunglasses, handed Jason a thick envelope. Inside was a check large enough to keep the shop running for years and a short note. Fix it if you can. If not, destroy what's left. Jason stared at the wreck. It looked like it had fallen off a cliff and burned on the way down. Jason was about to turn the man away. He didn't want the burden or the pressure. This was the kind of job that came with eyes, expectations, and lawsuits if anything went wrong. But before he could speak, Tyler stepped forward, slowly circling the hypercar. His gaze traced every line, every bent frame, every melted circuit. He crouched near the exposed engine bay and studied it like a puzzle waiting to be solved. Then he stood and looked at his dad. "I want to try," he said calmly. "Let me fix it." Jason narrowed his eyes. "Ty, this isn't some project car. This is $2 million worth of ruined engineering." But Tyler didn't flinch. "You taught me how to think. I've seen enough to know it's possible. Let me try in the back. I'll work around the shop hours." Something in Jason stirred equal parts pride and fear, but he nodded. "All right, but you take this seriously." "One mistake in this car's history." Tyler didn't answer. He just wheeled the lifeless machine into the rear bay and got to work that very night. For the next 2 weeks, Tyler lived and breathed that car. He sketched wiring diagrams in a beat-up notebook, watched engineering videos late into the night, and taught himself how to 3D print components that were no longer manufactured. He re-engineered brackets from salvaged parts, used welding skills, learned from his father, and rewrote software lines for the ECU he rebuilt from scratch. The other mechanics began whispering about the kid in the back. Even Jason found himself watching from a distance, unable to believe what his son was pulling off without fanfare or frustration. On the 19th day, just after lunch, a roar shook the walls of the garage. Everyone froze. The sound didn't belong to any truck or motorcycle they knew. It was deeper, sharper, alive. They rushed into the back and found Tyler standing beside the resurrected hypercar. The engine purred like a beast, flawless and refined. The shop felt silent. Tyler simply turned off the ignition and looked up, face calm but eyes shining. No one said a word. Even Jason, hand still holding a wrench, could only stare in awe. His son had done the impossible and changed everything. Tyler stood silently next to the gleaming hypercar, its polished body reflecting the dusty garage lights. His hands were still stained with engine grease, and his t-shirt had burn marks from the welding torch, but none of that mattered. The machine was alive again. Around him, the crew of experienced mechanics watched in awe. One of them, an ex-NASCAR pit engineer, whispered, "That boy just rebuilt a monster." Jason circled the vehicle slowly, his fingertips running across the smooth curves. He crouched by the custom exhaust Tyler had fabricated from scratch and listened to the clean, rhythmic purr of the engine. Jason rose, eyes still fixed on the machine. "You did this," he said, voice tight with emotion. Tyler gave a small nod. "I used that modular battery housing from the Tesla swap, reinforced the mounts. Turbo's been rebuilt with lighter alloys from the scrapyard. It cuts weight by about 60 pounds. Jason gave a low whistle. This wasn't just repair, it was performance engineering. The shop hadn't seen anything like it. Before he could respond, the crunch of tires outside turned everyone's attention. A black SUV pulled up, sleek and quiet. It wasn't local. Door opened, and a tall man in a custom gray suit stepped out, flanked by two assistants in black. Jason recognized him immediately, Charles Langston, the billionaire tech mogul whose name was on the check that came with the Hypercar. Langston didn't speak at first. He walked around the vehicle once, closely inspecting the welds, panel seams, and engine bay. Then he turned sharply to Jason. "Who fixed it?" Jason opened his mouth, but Tyler stepped forward calmly. "I did," he said. Langston raised an eyebrow. "How old are you?" 16. There was silence. Then Langston laughed genuinely. "This is unbelievable," Langston said. "This car was declared beyond repair by two elite European engineering firms. They said even the blueprint couldn't be salvaged, and you brought it back?" Tyler shrugged modestly. "I didn't know that. I just thought it still had a shot." Langston turned to one of his assistants, who handed Jason a folder. Inside was a letter of intent. A full-ride scholarship for Tyler to attend MIT, starting with early admission if he passed the SATs, and a summer internship at Langston's own R&D campus in California. Jason nearly dropped the folder. "You're going to college, son," he said. Tyler blinked, stunned. I just wanted to fix the car," Langston chuckled again. "You did more than that. You showed imagination, instinct, and resolve. I invest in people who can change the world. And you, Tyler, just earned your seat." The next morning, the local newspaper headline read, "Teenage Mechanic Rebuilds $1 Million Hypercar. Industry Takes Notice." The article included a photo of Tyler standing next to the car with his arms crossed, trying not to smile. Interviews and camera crews showed up the next day, but Tyler stayed mostly in the back of the shop, working on a busted lawnmower. Life at Miller's Auto didn't change much after that. Jason still opened the garage at sunrise, still fixed. Old trucks and rusty tractors. But something had shifted. Customers came in not just for service, but for a glimpse of the kid mechanic who'd made headlines. They brought in harder jobs, more unique vehicles, and Tyler? He didn't seek the spotlight. He stayed grounded, tinkering, learning, pushing. Boundaries. He didn't need fame. What he needed was the next challenge. And in his father's garage, with tools in hand and a mind full of possibilities, he knew he'd never stop chasing what machines could become.